oh man, my ball cancer's killing me, I gotta drink this jizz. Welcome to Books and Shit. We'll be talking about Clockwork Orange today, and why this book is more important to high schoolers, should be more important to high schoolers, than Catcher in the Rye. Now that we live in an era where you can look up on the internet, 3 guys, 1 hammer, and watch a person be murdered. Literally murdered. And I mean literal in the sense that it's supposed to mean. What the fuck happened to the word literal? Clockwork Orange is about free will. In fact, that's the meaning of the title. The idea of taking something that is organic and making it cold and mechanical. No one is this mechanical thing masquerading as something organic, because we have free will, because we have choices. When you're a teenager, your life is all about what people tell you you're supposed to do with it. Your parents tell you something, teachers tell you something, society in general tells you something. Put your pants on! You know, it's a dark movie theater. Nobody's really going to notice. Clockwork is about realizing the choices you make affect the world at large. They affect the people around you. And it's up to you to make more, shall we say, positive choices with your life. Never had the chocolate pop tart. No, wait, I did it once when I was really high. Good. Or maybe I was just high. Catcher in the Rye is about a character realizing life is a lie, and most of the time we lie to ourselves until we go insane. When I read Catcher in the Rye, my reaction was one of panic and terror. That was my only option, was some fatalistic decline into nothing. I mean, if the world is just full of liars and phonies and nothing I do is going to change it, then what the fuck am I doing anything for? Why should I aspire to anything? I should probably just kill myself and be done with it. Clockwork Orange, on the other hand, directly says, you can be the worst human being on the planet, but there's hope for you to be a better person. There is always hope because you can change. You have a choice. And life is about the choices you make. Most people, since they're only familiar with the movie, assume that he's like late teens. He's more closer to being an adult and so on and so forth. Because, you know, first off, nobody wants to read. The book is so much more horrifying because he's only just about turned 15 when the book takes off. So that means you have a 15-year-old boy running around whacked out on drugs, murdering, looting, and raping people. It's probably the most despicable juvenile delinquent in the history of fiction. It's a very disturbing book, and most people don't want to encounter the realities that it proposes. That a human being could be that young and that vicious at the same time. But then one has to take into consideration, where the fuck are you from? In the original cut, the way that Anthony Burgess meant the book to be taken, Alex grows out of the person he was. He evolves away from it. And you can list it off as the result of boredom, self-revelation. One day he decided brown M&Ms weren't disgusting anymore. Alex is the agent of change. Alex is the person who becomes something more. Evolving towards someone you wouldn't mind living next door, or at least on the corner, down the street a little bit. He's in the neighborhood. And that's a message that teenagers probably need to hear more than some fatalistic conception that life is awful, terrible, and full of lies, and there's nothing you can do about it. Ladies get boners too. Yes, life is awful, terrible, and full of lies, but the idea you can't do anything about it, there's really no rebellion in Catcher in the Rye, which is an interesting aspect. There are all these people that use it as this motivation to do something with their lives, and they see it as this like standard of being a teenager, yet there's no rebellion in the book. There's an intellectual rebellion against the phoniness of adult society, that everybody's, lying to you, and they have these false standards that nobody ever really lives up to. When you have a fatalistic attitude, especially due to some overwhelming existential terror about reality, you start to realize that maybe there isn't a point to existence. This is important because there isn't one, unless you make it. And Clockwork Orange offers that possibility, that the individual can create the life he or she chooses. Catcher in the Rye also suffers from the fact that it is too well known. How is that a fucking problem? Because Jaws is too well known, but people still go see it. Our culture is so saturated by Catcher in the Rye that people know to an extent what it's about and so don't think about it. Something about being a teenager. Here's just the blanket book that we can throw at everybody, and from this you're supposed to understand things. Catcher in the Rye is sort of just like the general salve, the balm that's thrown at teenagers to give them this notion of that, hey, don't worry about it, somebody understands you. It may not be me, but fuck you, nerd. When you're the one person in the classroom who wants to raise their hand and say, this book for me is bullshit, it's not bad, it just doesn't mean anything to me. I really enjoyed this one. You automatically have set yourself apart because everybody else, not only are they enjoying it, but wait a minute, hold on there, freaky deaky. You're supposed to like this book. We have a cultural standard of what we're supposed to look for when we're defining ourselves growing up that sets up what you're supposed to like and why you're supposed to like it. We become inured, look it up, to what it means to be shocked into the realization that there is something you resonate with. Think about the first time you felt that electric sizzle of knowing that somebody understood what you were going through. And now imagine you're sitting in a room and everybody says, this will provide you with that sensation. And then it doesn't. That's a horrifying, shattering experience because it makes you start to wonder what's wrong with you. There are other options. That's what you have to keep in mind. A book about free will lets you know that if you didn't like this, that doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. Go out and find the thing that makes you feel alive. Hopefully it will not be rape and murder.